Before I begin, I want to give all praises to Yahweh Bashim Shah Bashim Chakwadash. And the one to get positive of the great milestone and shalom to the high completion's word. Not the four corners, ancient sincerity. Like another lesson to the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Shai. No Lord willing, edifying us to the elect. Alright, the topic of this lesson is going into, current events, but mainly focusing on inflation, right, due to this war dealing with the main players, U.S., Israel, and Iran, and how the price of gas is, going up, and it's all, biblical prophecy, how the price of things will go up. All right, and this is nothing to be compared to what's really, about to happen when shit really does, hit the fan. But you can definitely see, all right, that we're headed towards, an increase, a hyper, inflation. Where things, gas, you see on the internet, people are posting $7 gas. Here down in Florida, gas has gone up, all right, to the fours, even almost to the fives and sixes. All right, so we in those times, man, which it was prophesied in the scriptures, that we told you that we in Jacob's trouble, all right, but it's only going to get worse, okay? Only going to get worse as we're living in these times. All right, this is 2 Ezra 16, and I'm only going to get 38. I'm starting at 37. I'm gonna start at the top and go down. It says 2 Ezra 16 and 17 says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days. The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great deaths, or the beginning of it. So these things are only just the beginning, and it's only going to get worse. All right, ultimately to the point where it's going to be a complete civil war and a whole purge out here where people are just looting and stealing because they can't afford, all right, to buy groceries. They can't afford to put gas in their car. So, especially Jake, all right, and it says the beginning of wars and the powers stand in fear. The beginning of evils, going into these harsh times, these bad times that's occurring. All right, things we told you that things are also going to get worse. All right, it's them labor pains. All right, it's only going to increase till Yahweh returns, and and if you wasn't seeking the Lord now, then you have no hope. All right, see, when we see prices on up, we not worried. We giving praises to Yahweh Shemel Shah. All right, he says, what shall I do when these evil shall come? Your mindset in these times, Israel. All right, speaking to the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, is to seek the Lord. All right, in these times. All right, because of what's about to happen in the earth, you still have a little opportunity too. All right, because things didn't really get to the point where the prophets are not out, on the street. And yes, there's going to come a time where, we won't be highways and byways telling you to repent. All right, you're going to be all hell just breaking loose. All right, but this is Ecclesiastes 12:1. It says, remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth. All right, not literally, but while you have the time to. All right, it says while the evil days come not. Right, so. We in bad times now, but it's about to get way worse. All right, this ain't the end. Don't expect things to get better. It's not. All right, we going full throttle, man. We coming into a transition of power. So before that transition happens, all hell got to break loose. People got to suffer. All right, that's prophecy. People dying and suffering, and only the select chosen will be protected. It says, "Know the years draw nigh when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them." So. Right before shit hit the fan, it says, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. So that's going into, ultimately the famine of the word. So before the famine of the word hits, all right, seek the Lord. All right, because this is, our wisdom and knowledge. You have, Jake, a way, you can have, basically get put on to know what's about to happen and to have a hedge of protection, but you act like you don't want it. All right, skipping down, it says 13. It says, let us hear the conclusion. Let's hear the conclusion of the whole matter for the Most High and keep His commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. So, the whole purpose, of the Israelites is to, all right, fear the Lord and keep His commandments. All right, that's what we was put on the earth to do. All right, especially now, we about our life by, fearing the Lord and trying to keep the commandments to the best of our ability. Not saying we're going to do it perfect, but, we do what's commanded of us. Whatever the Lord has commanded us to do in these times, we do. All right, what's commanded to Jake to do now is to seek the Lord and fear the Lord. All right, before the evil day. Before these, like it says, before those evil days. Because we in bad times now, but it's only going to get worse. We already in Jacob's trouble. It's only going to increase. All right, this is Jeremiah 30, and starting at 1. So the word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord Yahweh, saying, "Thus speaketh the Lord Yahweh, the God of Israel, right, Yahweh Shemal Shai, saying, Write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in the book. For lo, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah." Right, going into how the Lord's going to restore us and deliver us out of our captivity. All right, because after this is, it's no more of the Israelites, going into captivities and the heathens being over us, oppressing us. Ain't gonna be no more of that. All right, so even knowing that fact, what is your mindset? What is your mindset and conversation but supposed to be? All right, because this is the last hoorah for these heathens. Okay, it says, "And I will return, and I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it." So we gonna have our land back. These Edomites, Amalek. All right, which are the so-called, the so-called Jews are in our land. Them hats, all right, but they really just Edomites in our land, but they're finna get kicked out, all right, because they're not the chosen anyway. Because once you get in that land, when we are getting that land, it's supposed to be peace on earth. But as you can see, all right, because we're not in that land, all right, at this time, that the earth is in chaos. All right, this is what we fighting for as well, for the earth to be at peace. That's gonna be another lesson, in itself. All right, to build back our nation, the rule in righteousness. All right, but on Jeremiah 30 and 4 says, "And these are the words that the Lord Yahweh spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah." All right, so ultimately the whole 12 tribes, northern and southern kingdom. It's actually now see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man? It says, "Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into pounding." So it's gonna be so, bad. It's gonna get so bad. It's gonna be like a man experiencing the pains like a woman giving birth. All right, crying out, just being fearful, because they not gonna know what's going on. Because as I said, the Lord, He's not bringing peace. So we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. So a time of peace is not coming for America. It will come in the kingdom, but as we're here in Babylon, all right, our hell is about to break loose. As you see, the price of gas is going up. All right, it says, just how much California's, in this fgate.com, it says, here's how much California gas is soaring as Iran war jorts, Slovakia. Oil markets says, gas prices in California and across the country have skyrocketed over the last several days, and experts say they're only expected to keep climbing as the war with Iran escalates. And this war never going away. All right, because like we always say, it's only gonna get worse. It's only gonna get worse, man. Going back to them labor pains in 2nd Ezra 16. All right, 2nd Ezra 16. Okay. It says, "And the gas hike reflects instability in global oil markets as the turmoil threatens critical infrastructure and supply routes. The domino effects are already being felt at the pump, especially in California, where gas prices are already higher than other states." So, California already, gas is already expensive already. And it says, as of Tuesday morning, California's average price is $5.29 per regular gallon, approximately 62 cents higher than a week ago and 80 cents higher than a month ago. So as you can see, prices of things are constantly going up, but it's going to reach to a point where, all right, gas going to be, $100. All right, and ain't no point in putting gas at that. All right, because who's paying $100 for gas? And if people not paying gas in their car, they're not going to work. And if they're not going to work, they're not making no money. And if they're not making no money, all right, what you think that's going to cause? All right, looting. Okay. So, and it was already told that the price of things were going to go up. All right. One more verse. It says, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. So when it talks about Jacob's trouble, this is a troubling time for the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, because we are the chosen people of Yahweh Shema Shai, because Jacob's name was changed to Israel. So, this is a troubling time for the Israelites, but it says, but he shall be saved out of it. And that's also talking about the elect of Yahweh Shema Shai, because the elect, all right, in these times will be seeking the Lord. All right, Salakia for the message. But in these times, the elect will be seeking the Lord. Okay. All right. This is Revelation 6. I'm gonna start at 5. It says, well, I'm gonna read 6. It says, and I heard, I'm starting 5. Like it says, and when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. It says, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts saying, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see, I heard not the oil and the wine. So this black horse, all right, talking about with the balances in his hand, is going into, the judgments. All right. Okay. And the 6th verse goes into how, all right, basically hyperinflation. All right. Because when you go into Blue Letter, it talks about, all right, Revelation 6:6, I heard a voice from among the 4 living beings saying, a loaf of wheat bread or 3 loaves of barley will cost a day's pay. So just imagine some bread that you get from Walmart. All right, let's ask chat right quick. All right, how much is a loaf of bread? Right. Like $2 to $4 per loaf. All right, max will be $7. All right. All right, so max is $7. That's going into organic. So regular like $4. So imagine bread costing a day's pay. Say you work a whole shift. Okay, you make what, 100, 150, 200, however much you make. Just imagining that. A day's pay $100. Bread, a loaf of bread, a bag, all right, being $100. So can you imagine if bread is $100, how much the meat is gonna be, how much the milk and the canned goods and the ingredient, how much everything else is gonna be if bread is $100 or $150? It's hyperinflation. All right, so the gas that you now is gonna get way, and now imagine gas. All right, the gas gonna be costing shit more than the gas. Definitely gonna be costing more than the bread. Gas could be like $300-$400. All right, that's how bad it's gonna get. Okay, it says, Salakia, shit not working. Anyways, it says, and when he had opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th beast say, come and see. And look, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power is given unto him over the 4th part of the earth to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. So you see, more judgments are on the way. All right, the sword, it tells you that in 2 Esdras 15:5. All right, it says, behold, 2 Esdras 15:5 says, behold, said the Lord, I'll bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness had exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. So, judgments is on the way. And it's going to be, economically, it's going to ultimately fold into, upwards of the people because things are so expensive. Then it's gonna lead to looting and looting. Okay, people killing each other for the lack. All right, where is that? In 2 Corinthians 15. And here you go. Skip down to 19. It says, "A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation." So, people what's that commercial? You're not yourself when you're hungry. All right, people gonna be very, very hungry and hangry. All right, especially the men, because they gonna wanna provide for their family. So if a man cannot provide, for their family, the natural way of just going to work and then paying, if that's out the window, what you think is gonna happen? They're gonna be on survival mode. All right. Okay. And even if you're on survival mode, the only way to be protected if you a man Yahbashim shy. All right. So when we read things like this, we're not fearful because this is just judgment for the heathens and for 2/3 of our people that didn't want to take heed, right? So that's what it's ultimately gonna come down to. This is a judgment. The Lord not just judging our people for no reason. These niggas not innocent just because they give the charity and which is a facade. They give the charities and they give pizzas to homeless. That don't mean they getting delivered. All right, that nigga's still wicked. This is Isaiah 65 and starting at 11 says, but ye are they that forsake the Lord Yahweh, that forget my holy mountain, that prepare a table for that troop, and that furnish drink offering unto that number. So who has forsaken the Lord? So-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. Therefore will I number you to the sword, and ye shall all bow down to the slaughter, because, all right, and again, the Lord is a righteous power. He's a judge. He's not just judging for no reason. He can judge for no reason, because ultimately, all right, that's Yahweh Shema Shai. The Lord is a judge, okay? The Lord told you to do certain things, you didn't do it, okay, so you can be delivered. Now, when all hell break loose, all right, it says, because when I called, you did not answer. When I spake, you did not hear. Right? It's not like you deaf, Jake. It's not, you chose not to. You chose not to really hearken and actually take the time out your day to, listen to the prophets or just listen to Yahweh Shema Shah, because the prophets represent the mouthpiece of the Lord. We're not speaking our own words. This is the Lord speaking through us. He's using us. We're the instruments being used to preach to our people. He says, but did evil before mine eyes, and did choose that wherein I delighted not. So it was your choice. So when shit ultimately does get worse, and it is going to get worse, way worse than now, all right, just remember that you chose this. You chose that life. All right, you chose to let your family starve. All right, if you were a man, you had a daughter, you had a wife. You chose them. You wanted them to starve. You wanted them to, you wanted them to eat, to get ravished. You wanted your wife to get ravished. You wanted, and it sounds harsh, but that's what you chose. Because as a man, right, the Lord calls the men. All right, so obviously your household can get, delivered. It tells you that in 1 Corinthians. All right, about the unbelieving wife. Okay, about the unbelieving. Yeah, Corinthians, right. It says, for the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now are they holy. So, through the man, okay, ultimately, your family can get, delivered. And we be seeing it. We be at camp. We see men walking by with their children and their strollers and the wife and shit. We saw it recently, too. We teaching. They didn't pay us no mind. He could have been Jake. Could have not been Jake. But that's the normal. Jake walk past. They don't give us don't give the Lord the time of the day. All right, says 13. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, behold, my servant shall eat, but he shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but he shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but he shall be ashamed. So it's gonna be a difference of those that was serving the Lord and those that wasn't. It says, behold, my servant shall sing for joy first. So we're going to be giving praises to the name Yahweh Bashim Shai, because it's going to be made evident that the Lord is dealing with us. We eating in the famine. It ain't none for a man, the Lord, to eat during the famine. Happened with Elijah. All right, then it's time to tell you that how in James the 5th chapter, how Elijah prayed that it rained not for 3 years and 6 months, and it didn't rain. So that's a famine. Just imagine the sun just being in the sky right now, just stuck right there. It's a famine. Nobody eating, but he eating, being fed. There ain't nothing. He said, "Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit." Because there's nothing else that they're going to be able to do. It's just crying and trying to call for the Lord, and it's not going to work. You're starving. But these are the judgments that, Revelation 6 is talking about. All right. But that alone is was edifying. I want to give our praises to Yahweh, Bashem, El Shai, Bashem, Kakudash. And I want to see the apostles, elevated millstone, and shalom to the Akim, teaching his word, throughout the four corners, and true sincerity. I was out here, shalom.